All right, it looks like we are at the top of the hour, so I'm going to go ahead and kick us off. Thank you for joining us for a webinar to learn about the Personal Financial Planning Master's Program and also some graduate certificate options that we have here at Kansas State University. I'm going to go ahead and get us started. My name is Morgan Graham. I'm the graduate academic advisor for personal financial planning at K-State, so I advise for again, our certificates, our master's, and our PhD program. And so if you come to K-State, you and I will be working together. And I will let Dr. Sensnag introduce himself.
Well, good evening and welcome. My name is Derek Sensnick, and I am the Director of Personal Financial Planning for the Master's Program, and then also a practicing professor. Part of my background that will hopefully be interesting to you is I did graduate from KSU with my PhD as well as a master's in financial planning. So have already been through that experience and certainly enjoyed the process in getting that education. So with that, we will talk a little bit about the financial planning profession, and then Morgan will dive in depth to some of the programs and certificates that we have available. So we'll spend the first 30 to 45 minutes or so with just a presentation and walking through some slides, and then we will save about 10 to 15 minutes for questions at the end. And if you could put in the chat where you're from and which of the programs or certificates interest you the most. And we will be recording tonight's webinar, and it'll be out via email in about a week once it's been edited and made available for us to send out. So with that, let's just jump into it and talk about the perfect profession. In reality, most professions where you help people and are serving them in such a manner, you don't get paid very well. Or you can get paid, but there's not a lot of flexibility or control over your schedule. And even if a great job exists, you might not have the ability to get hired. But financial planning is a little bit different in that it has all of the above. And so as we look at financial planning and the definition of financial planning, we're going to use the CFP Board's definition of financial planning. And that is really just a collaborative process that helps maximize a client's potential for meeting life's goals through financial advice that integrates relevant elements of the client's personal and financial circumstances. And so all of that to say, really, a lot of the times we are just putting together pieces of the puzzle. And you have different pieces like tax planning, estate planning, retirement planning, investment planning. And putting those all together can be a very delicate process depending on the individual's circumstances. And we are really not in an age of a lack of information. We're in an age of information saturation. And part of our job is to really help clients filter through all of that to find what fits their situation best. And a big part of our job is using the financial planning process to design a lifestyle that they can afford throughout retirement. And if we really look at that process, the retirement can span anywhere from 40 to 50 years, depending on how long and how early they're able to retire. And so it is not a task that can be taken lightly because they need their financial well-being to last for as long as they do. And the risk of running out is a very important risk that we have to consider. And so as we go through this journey with them, it really starts with the organization. And sometimes that can be the hardest step. And so you can have clients where they've had anywhere from 5 to 10 different jobs, different 401ks, individual investments, and then individual retirement arrangements at a bunch of different brokerages. And then once you get them all organized, that begins the process there of building their confidence and taking some careful consideration into their options and how their options can then progress towards implementing the action steps of the financial plan. And so to do that, there are certainly a lot of different options when we look at the various financial planning career field options. And there's really a lot of them that fit or can fit what it is that your preferences are and what you enjoy doing the most. And so there's that entrepreneurial side, and then there's also the institutional and more corporate side of it there. And so it's just a matter of, excuse me, what do you enjoy doing the most? And what aspects of the business do you want to focus on? And so on the entrepreneurial side, certainly you can have the higher risk, higher reward type situations when you own your own firm, you own your own book of business and have complete control over your time. And then as you go a little bit more to the right side, you see a mix of options. There you have some of the registered investment advisory firms, counseling, government, and academic research, which typically have a very defined career path, a little bit more salary oriented, and then a very structured development and training process. And then on the bottom side there, you see more of a corporate setting within banks, credit unions, brokerage firms like Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab that have a blended compensation with salary bonus and commission, along with the benefit of having a structured training plan or training program. And so one possible career path that is fairly traditional in our industry is starting out as a paraplanner. At this point, you've likely received the CFP designation, or you are in the process of doing so, in the process of completing the education. And then you move into a financial planner position with some leadership responsibilities. And then following that up with a senior advisor role where you take on more of a business development and business growth role and are responsible for bringing in clients to the firm and then also client retention. And at the peak of that is a partner role. And this is more ingrained in the recruiting, training, and developing of talent within the firm. And then also some other senior roles of leadership that come with being a senior management level type position. And so that is going to have a very wide range of salaries within it. The salary ranges that you see here are very general in nature. They're good estimates or rules of thumb to consider. And as you can see there, as the salary or the compensation increases, the responsibility increases as well. And then with the increase in compensation, you also see a larger portion of that being incentive and bonus driven. So in a lot of those positions, you are paid for the end performance of the people you bring into the business and different aspects like that. But this is certainly not the only track, but it's one of the most common paths that we see in our industry. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Morgan to talk about our graduate programs and certificate programs.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Sitzenig. So again, my name is Morgan Graham. I am the graduate advisor for the PFP programs at K-State. And so I thought I'd start just with introducing you to Kansas State University a little bit. You'll hear it's always called K-State. But so just a little bit about K-State. It is the university is located in Manhattan, Kansas, about 2 hours west of Kansas City. And you'll hear everyone call it the Little Apple. So K-State, home to over 19,000 students across 3 different campuses. Again, with Manhattan being our main campus, we have over 250 undergraduate academic programs. We have over 150 online programs at K-State. K-State is an R1 research institution, which basically means that there is a high level of research activity occurring in the university, and that includes within the PFP program through our doctoral program. So if you have any interest in research, specifically within financial planning, let us know. We can talk about the PhD as well. K-State is also a land grant institution. And so you'll hear that as a driving force for a lot of K-State's mission and activity that the university is conducting. So when we look at the PFP program at K-State, as I mentioned, we've got some certificates, a master's, and a doctorate. Tonight, we're going to focus on those first 4. So the PFP certificate, financial therapy certificate, advanced financial planning, and the master's degree. So starting first with our graduate certificate options. So we've got those 3 that I just mentioned. So starting first with the PFP certificate. So this one is going to be 6 courses for 18 credit hours. All of our classes are 8 weeks long each. And so typically what students are going to do is take 2 classes in a semester, but one at a time. And so at that pace, with that certificate, you can complete it in about 14 months. So the PFP certificate is Comprehensive Financial Planning, preparing you to work with clients. So this is our program that's registered with CFP Board, so it makes you eligible to sit for the CFP exam. And it's going to cover those areas that Dr. Sensenig mentioned. So insurance, retirement, investments, tax, estate planning, and then case studies, which is our capstone class, which is where you're actually preparing and presenting a comprehensive financial plan. So you're synthesizing all those elements that you worked on in your previous classes and putting them into an actual plan like you might present to a client. We also have a financial therapy graduate certificate. So this one is going to be 4 classes for 12 credit hours, again, with those 8-week courses. So that one takes about 10 months to complete. So financial therapy, we're going to talk in just a second about what is financial therapy, but just kind of the quick highlights of it. So it's client-centered training that helps you better serve your clients. You're looking at your client's psyche, their perspective on money, basically looking at anything that's going to impact a client's relationship with money, their behaviors, their beliefs, their feelings toward it, and then helping you do something about it. So how can you help a client kind of work through anything that ultimately might be a barrier to them reaching their goals? So with those classes, we've got Intro to Financial Therapy, Money and Relationships, Applied Behavioral Finance, which is taught by Dr. Sensenig, and Financial Therapy Theory and Research. We also have a graduate certificate in Advanced Financial Planning, and that's exactly what it sounds like. So the Advanced Financial Planning certificate is designed for students who already have their CFP certification or have already completed CFP coursework. So the Advanced Financial Planning has 4 classes, 12 credits, again, completed in about 10 months. And it's really helping you to dive deeper into those technical areas in financial planning. So we've got advanced estate planning, advanced retirement, advanced tax, and then professional practice management. So if you are in a leadership role in a firm or aspire to be, or you want to start your own firm, it's really going to examine the business side of financial planning and building a business plan and looking at just all those elements aside from the actual planning that you're doing. Again, designed for folks who already have their CFP. You definitely want to have that foundation before you go into the advanced classes. So like I said, we're going to talk a little bit more about what is financial therapy, because sometimes I talk to students or prospective students and they hear that therapy piece and they're like, whoa, that's not what I want. You know, I like working with numbers, I like people, but I'm not a therapist and I don't want to be a therapist. And so what is financial therapy? So financial therapy is a process for financial planning. It's informed by both therapeutic and financial competencies that help people think, feel, and communicate and behave differently with money to improve overall well-being. So again, I just like to call it just the human side of money. So how that, again, looking at our classes, what skills are you going to be building when you're in those financial therapy classes? So we're going to be looking at communication, conflict resolution, helping clients discover money attitudes, values, beliefs, engaging resistant clients. I spoke to a student recently who is kind of new to the program. I think he's got 1 or 2 semesters under his belt, and just asked him how he was liking the classes, and he's a practicing financial planner. I said, have you seen any kind of takeaways that you're already able to bring into your practice? And he told me a story about a client that he'd been working with for years and years and years, and he couldn't understand. He was just getting a little resistance, a little pushback from his client. He couldn't understand why. And he started using some of the skills that he learned in his class and using some open-ended questions and just, again, different skills that he'd been practicing in class. And he found out that his client had cancer. And it was both emotionally difficult for him and his family. And it was also impacting the way he was making plans about his money and the decisions he was making. And so because he was able to build that trust and open that conversation that the client otherwise would have been kind of reserved about, they were able to make a plan in light of it. So, you know, whether that's working with couples, working with individuals who are going through hard times, whatever it may be, it's really helping you build some good communication skills and understanding the behavioral piece that people bring into a financial planning relationship. So when we look at financial therapy, it's a skill set for financial planners to develop and hone to have more trusting, committed, and effective client relationships. It's really ultimately the goal. Again, we're not asking you to be a licensed therapist, and you're not going to walk away saying you are, but it is helping you just build those communication skills. So Dr. Sensenig has a perspective as both a faculty member in financial therapy, but also as a practitioner as a CFP. So Dr. Sensenig, anything you would add there about how you see these skills coming into your practice with clients?
Yeah, Morgan, I think you summarized that really well. If we look at it on one side, the estate planning, the tax planning, investment planning, that's all the technical side of it. The financial therapy, exactly like you said, you're not going to walk out and be a financial therapist, but you're going to have a much deeper, more rich understanding of the practical side of financial planning, the behavioral side, and really answering that question of why are people behaving or acting a certain way with their finances. And the easiest one that I use in one of my classes is if you would walk down the street of downtown Houston and just ask 100 people, should you be investing in your 401k up to the match? 99 out of 100 people would say yes. And yet when we look at the research, we're nowhere close to that. And so behavioral finance or financial therapy answers the gap in between there of if I know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm not doing it, why am I not doing it? And so that's the benefit of financial therapy, to really answer that other side, get to the real reason as to why they're not doing that, and then give them a true solution and path towards modifying their own behavior to get to the point where they truly want to be, of being in a position to financially save and invest in their 401k and other savings as well.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And financial therapy, the more and more I talk to students and financial planners, they're really interested in that behavioral piece, but financial therapy in and of itself as a discipline is actually really young. So K-State had the first financial therapy program in the country. And I believe it started in 2009, but don't hold me to that. I could be a little bit wrong, but I think it started in 2009. But you see it emerging more and more as a necessary skill for financial planning. So CFP Board, just within the last several years, added the psychology of financial planning as a necessary skill set and something that they test on the exam that they expect financial planners to have some experience and study with. Because just like Dr. Sensenig said, it's not enough to just know the right advice and the right rules. There's that other piece there that comes into play in financial planning. So financial therapy just helps you to have really, much more effective financial planning relationships. So we've talked about the certificates, and I'm going to shift over to the master's now. So our master's program is going to require 10 courses for 30 credit hours. So you can complete that in about 2 years. That's going to be at that pace of taking one 8-week class during every 8-week session and just keeping things rolling. But that is flexible. So sometimes students need to take breaks for different reasons. We can build breaks into your plan. Sometimes students want to speed that up a little bit and double up on classes, and we'd want to have a conversation about that, but that's possible. But this typical timeline, especially for someone who's working full time, is going to be 2 years with 8-week classes. All of our coursework is fully online, so there's no requirement to come to campus, although you're welcome anytime, and we'd love to have you stop by campus in Manhattan and come up and see the PFP program. But everything's fully online. There's no requirement, but you are also welcome to come for graduation. And we have a lot of online students like to come to campus for that. So what are your options with the master's degree? So we just looked at those 3 certificates. And so the unique thing about our master's program is that you're going to pair 2 of those certificate programs together to earn the master's degree. So you can do that with personal financial planning, that CFP side with financial therapy. You can do the CFP coursework with the advanced financial planning. Or if you're already a CFP professional, then you're likely going to do the financial therapy with the advanced financial planning and the electives. So again, the unique thing about that is if you complete all the courses from any one of those certificates, in addition to the master's, you're also going to get that graduate certificate, which is a really unique thing that you can highlight on your resume. You'll get a certificate that you can show and show everyone this additional area that you've focused in on as part of your master's degree. One thing I will note, so students without prior financial planning coursework or professional experience will have to take PFP 624, Fundamentals of Financial Planning, as a prerequisite course. So that would bump that 10 up to 11. A question that I often get from new or prospective students is just who's in our program? What's kind of the makeup of students? And it's a really good split of students who are already in the industry, working as financial planners and really ranging where they are in their career. I've got, kind of early career students, those first kind of 5-ish years. I've got that mid-career level, 10, 15, 20 years in the industry, and then even beyond that, and they're wanting to come back for their CFP certification. So I've got folks that are already in the industry, but then I've also got a lot of career changers that are coming in. So again, when I mentioned that fundamentals class, I have a lot of students who come in, they haven't done anything with financial planning yet. But they're recognizing that that's a direction that they want to go. And so we'll give that fundamentals class. It's going to give you an overview of all those financial planning areas, but it's also going to incorporate some foundational skills that you need going into those later classes. So we would talk about that. When I look at our career changers though, and again, kind of that makeup, so maybe this is some of you tonight, but I've got a lot of career changers who are coming from various backgrounds. I see a lot coming from education, medical backgrounds. I see a lot of students who are former or current military that are looking into financial planning, and many other backgrounds. So we've got a really fun blend of perspectives in our program, and I think that's really helpful for our students, not only as they're learning together, but they're also building really good peer support, even through an online environment. So looking a little bit then at YK State, if you're looking at getting started and looking into a graduate program, so I can admit that I'm biased, but I think we just have phenomenal faculty. So I've shown them over here. These may be familiar faces that you've seen if you're involved on LinkedIn in the financial planning world, or reading journal articles, things like that. But we've just got really stellar faculty who are really leaders in their field, both in education, research, and practice. And they are directly available to our students. So you are in an instructor-led environment, even though it's fully online. So you're going to know who your instructor is. You're going to know how to get in touch with them. They're going to be available to you and available for support. We've also just got really stellar students and a really good student support environment. So again, it's fully online. We've got students all across the country, time zones. I've got students in other countries, but they're really intentional about building that peer support, through the class meetings, through study groups. I always encourage setting up study groups. And again, getting really good peer-to-peer support. When I've got my students that are already in the industry, they're really gracious and supportive of my students that are career changers and giving good advice and kind of mentorship. And I just get great feedback from our students coming in. So cohorts. So we have kind of an informal cohort system. So you'll start to see familiar faces in your classes. I mentioned before that we have 8-week courses. So that means you can start our program in January, March, June, August, and October. And so you can see with multiple entry points, those cohorts will vary just a little bit. So that's why it's informal, but you're going to start seeing familiar faces in your classes. And so that way you're just continuing to build that network through the graduate program. Our classes have live Zoom meetings every week. So that way, again, you're getting to engage with your instructors, with your classmates, you're getting to ask questions, have conversations, and really be engaged in what you're doing. But those are optional. So our program is designed for folks that are working full-time, and we recognize that the vast majority of our students have full-time jobs and busy lives. So if you can't attend those class meetings, they're going to be recorded and you can watch them back later. There's no penalty for missing the live meeting, but we do encourage it where possible so that you can just really, really get that interaction with everyone in the program. Our classes are also set up to lead to several professional designations, with the CFP, the Certified Financial Planner, being the biggest one that's going to draw students in, and that most students are working toward. There's also the Accredited Financial Counselor, the AFC, which is definitely for folks who are looking more at coaching, counseling, maybe not full comprehensive financial planning. So our classes are set up with AFCPE. The Certified Financial Therapist, CFT, which is facilitated through FTA, the Financial Therapy Association. So our classes are set up there. And then the Certified Financial Behavior Specialist, the FBS, that is also one that's pretty unique because it's a coursework only designation. So if you're new and starting out, there's not an experience requirement tied to that, which I think helps a lot of people as they're building their resume. I will say that our classes, or rather there's additional requirements for those designations from each designating organization. So what we are set up for is just the education piece that can then lead you to sit for their exam and then follow their other steps. So if you take our classes, you are eligible for the CFP exam. You have a certificate in financial planning, but you're not yet a certified financial planner. So I always like to make that distinction. So hopefully at this point, you're just really, really excited to get started at K-State and start your graduate journey. So looking at the application requirements, starting first over here on the left. So for the PFP certificate, the advanced planning certificate, and the master's, to apply, you're going to include a copy of your resume. A personal statement, about a page is enough. It doesn't have to be terribly long. If you've never written a personal statement for a graduate program before, I've listed a YouTube video here. It's about 10 minutes long. Engage the Sage, writing excellent personal statements. So this is from a faculty member at K-State. And so he just talks about what to include and how to go about writing that statement. So I recommend taking a look at that. Again, about a page is fine. Doesn't have to be too long. Unofficial transcripts. So from anywhere that you have earned a degree before. So your undergrad degree, if you've earned a graduate degree before, we only need the degree or the transcript from where you earned that degree. So if you transferred and you got several institutions, we only need a transcript from where you earned your degree. And then references, you'll need 3. These can be professional, academic, personal. We're not too picky about it. The most important thing is that you have references who will complete their piece of it in a timely manner, because I have seen applications held up because references didn't complete their end of it. They're not going to be asked to do too much. So you'll enter their name and their email address. They'll get a link sent to their email. They're going to go in. They've got about 10 items that they're just going to rank you on a Likert scale, so just kind of high to low. Takes maybe a minute for them to finish that piece. And then they're either going to upload a letter that they've already written, or they're going to write a statement into the system. So they decide how much time they spend on that. But that's all that they're going to be asked to do. So it's not a huge burden. But again, just make sure that your references know your timeline for applying and starting classes. We don't want them to hold anything up. And then the application fee. So for the master's, the application fee is $65. For the certificates, I believe it's $35. Now, I will say, if you are considering your options, you're not sure if you want to go the certificate or the master's route, for instance, maybe you want to get the CFP coursework, you're not sure if you want to go on with the master's, but there's a possibility. If there's even a slight chance that you think you will do the full degree, I recommend applying for the master's up front. Reason being, if you apply for the certificate first and then decide later to do the master's, you're going to have to send a whole new application and a whole new application fee. And I'd love for you to not have to pay that twice. So even if you get into the master's program, you get through those first 6 CFP classes and you say, you know what, I'm good to go, that's all I need, then you're going to get a certificate and you're all set. But I just want to save you a little work if we can, and just have you apply for the master's up front if you think that's the route you might go. Moving over to the financial therapy certificate, you are going to upload a copy of your resume, same deal with the personal statement and unofficial transcripts, but you don't need references for that one. And then again, there's an application fee. So just looking at some FAQs that I often get from our students. So cost is obviously an important factor. So the current cost per credit hour is $6.76, and our classes are 3 credit hours each. This amount is posted through for academic year 24-25. Sorry, I had to think about which academic year we're in. So this is current through summer of 25. So we could see some changes starting fall of 25. But this is a current amount. It doesn't go up too much year over year. So this is what you should expect. Scholarships, I often get asked about that. So we don't have any scholarships available directly through our department, but we do have some scholarships available through K-State Online and the K-State Graduate School. So if you just Google K-State Grad School scholarships, you can look through to see what options are available there. They have some amounts for parents and families, and just helping kind of offset that cost that families will often face when they're in grad school. And there's some different other merit-based scholarships you can check out. Military benefits, our certificate and our master's program do qualify for VA benefits. So if you're using GI Bill, TA, or some of the others that are out there, this program does qualify. And our VA is set up really well to get that going. Timeline to get started. So the next opportunity to start our classes is going to be on March 24. So that's that second half of the spring semester. That's going to be our earliest opportunity. And so I always recommend, if possible, to apply at least 4 weeks before you want to start classes. We can make it work with a little less time, but if you can get it in, your application in at least 4 weeks before classes start, that's ideal. Give us plenty of time to process it. You and I will meet together to go over your graduation plan and get you enrolled and get you started. After that, the next opportunity to start would be in the summer, and summer classes will start on June 9. So we've got March 24 and June 9 as the upcoming chances to start classes. And then GRE or GMAT, we don't require that for the master's program. So it is required for the PhD if you end up wanting to go that direction, but not the master's. And then down here, just a few ways to contact us. So if you've got any questions, also, I don't think we mentioned this before, but if you have any questions, feel free to be throwing those in the chat or the Q&A function, and we'll make sure to get those questions answered. If you have any, you can throw those in at any time. But after tonight, if you have any questions, here's how you can contact us in the PFP department. K-State Online is also available to help. And I've also included my calendar link. So if you have questions specific to you, or you want to look through a sample schedule or anything you need, you're welcome to schedule time to meet with me. But once you apply and you're admitted to K-State, then I'll reach out to you, and you and I are going to, again, we're going to meet, go over your schedule and get you started, and we'll work together through your whole time at K-State. So hopefully you're excited and ready to go and get started at K-State. And if so, just go to online.k-state.edu and click how to apply at the bottom. And that'll get you to the application, and we'll get you rolling. And again, contact information for Dr. Senseneg and myself. There's that calendar link again, and also my direct email address. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And we'd also love for you to connect with our department on LinkedIn. We post a lot of updates there, what our students are doing, and things like that. So feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. We'd love to stay in touch. And with that, I'm going to open us up for some questions. So let me see if I can find the Q&A, and we will dive in. Okay, so the first question that I see coming through is there going to be an information session on the doctorate? So yes, we will have a webinar for the PhD, and I can tell you when that's going to be. That is on April 7. And so if you're interested in that, then shoot me an email. I'm going to go back over to our contact information. Whoops. Put that there. There we go. Shoot me a note if you're interested in the PhD, and we can get you signed up for that PhD webinar. Oh, this is a good question. I'm sorry I didn't mention it before. What time are those live Zoom classes generally? So those are usually going to be held outside of business hours, Central Time. So since K-State is in Central Time, that's usually going to drive when those classes meet. So that'll be, you know, potentially kind of late afternoon, early evening Central Time. Our instructors do kind of vary how they decide when to host those classes. Some will just decide the time up front. Others will survey the class to see what works best for everybody. I will say I have one instructor who's currently stationed in Italy with her husband, and so she is having to host classes during business hours. So that's where it really helps that they're recorded to watch later if you can't attend live. Okay. Okay, any other questions? Feel free to put those in the Q&A. Give it another minute, but we might just wrap up early. Dr. Senseneg, anything you want to add before we wrap up?
No, I think you pretty much covered everything there. And the email for myself, if you have just introductory questions on the PhD program, I'm happy to set up a quick conversation there as well. But Morgan will certainly be your point of contact throughout the whole thing.
So I got a question. Okay, so student with a master's in financial mathematics, interested in the PhD, how do I find out what classes I can have credited? So that's a good question. So with the PhD, well, the short answer to your question is you and I can get together and I'll show you a sample graduation plan for the PhD. For someone with an earned master's, you can get 12 transfer credits toward the elective requirement of the PhD. And then we could dive in a little deeper to see if there's an opportunity to transfer more credits. The PhD in total is 90. So at minimum, you'd be able to transfer in 12 credits to PhD with that degree. Does the financial therapy grad certificate apply internationally? I'm based in Australia. Well, thank you for being here. I'm so glad that you have joined us. So in terms of applying internationally, I mean, you can be an international student with K-State, and that's not going to be a problem. In terms of possibly CFT, the actual designation, I don't think there is an FTA in Australia, so I think you can earn the CFT from the US. And actually, our faculty do a lot of research with some faculty based in Australia, and so there is already, research and education happening in Australia related to financial therapy. So I'm hoping that answers your question. But yes, you can absolutely apply for the financial therapy certificate as an international student.
Morgan, I'll add to that the financial therapy certificate, I would call that a little bit more of an educational certificate in the sense that it is there to prepare you for just your different interactions with clients. I went through the financial therapy program. I do not hold myself out to clients as a financial therapist. I just don't want to set that expectation, but I use it a lot more from an interaction standpoint with clients and making sure that I'm asking the right behavioral questions to get to the root of really what they're trying to accomplish. And so that I just want to say that it is a financial planner designation, and you would want to go to additional through additional coursework to become an actual certified therapist in the general sense of it being your key profession.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Simpsoning. So a few more questions that have come through. Another one related to the PhD. Can we bypass the GRE with a master's degree related to financial planning? It looks like you went through Campbell University. Very fond of the faculty over there. I've worked with them over the years. So we'll talk about this more through the PhD webinar, but we do not make any exceptions for the GRE or GMAT. That's actually our most asked question about that program. So no exceptions there. It is required from all applicants and dated at least 5 years from the time that you apply. Can we take breaks in the certificate program between 8-week classes? Is there a time frame when the program needs to be completed? So yes, breaks are absolutely possible if you need to take them. K-State allows you to take up to 2 years off from classes and come back without having to reapply. So we can absolutely take breaks. That's something you and I would look at together and just make sure we consider any important factors there, just based on when the classes are offered, because some are only offered once a year, others are offered twice a year. So taking a break could cause some longer delays, but you and I would talk about that. And if you need to, that's totally fine. We have students that do that all the time. So it's not a problem. And is there a time frame when the program needs to be completed? There is, but it's long. So there's a milestone at 7 years and there's a milestone at 10 years. And so we would look at your unique situation to see if it comes close to that, but generally we don't even approach that. For the advanced financial planning curriculum, how does the content differ from the pre-CFP courses? And this person that asked the question is a young practitioner with a CFP. I'm going to let Dr. Simpson answer that because he is both the CFP and he teaches the advanced financial planning classes.
So that is a great question. There are 3 classes that we do: advanced taxes, advanced estate planning, and advanced retirement. And at that level, we're really integrating the 3 of them because, as you would know, we cannot talk about taxes in a silo and avoid taxes questions or discussions on estate planning and retirement planning. So at that level, they start to get really integrated, and then the focus is on either estate planning or taxes or whatever it may be for that specific class. But there is a very strong and intentional curriculum from myself to integrate all aspects of those financial planning dynamics into each of those classes.
Thank you. So another question, if there is another grad certificate from another college in financial psychology with overlapping course credits, do you have to repeat the course credit? So there are a few other programs out there with similar curriculum. So Creighton, Golden Gate, Texas Tech has recently started one. Those are the 3 that immediately come to mind. So you may have credits from any of those 3. There is an opportunity to transfer credits into both the financial therapy certificate and the master's. There is a cap on how many credits we can transfer. So we may not be able to bring all of them in, but there is an opportunity if you've earned graduate credit in any of those areas. And that's true for the financial therapy, but also just for PFP. So if you've started any financial planning classes elsewhere, as long as they are for graduate credit, there is an opportunity for transfer credit. And so you and I would look at that directly. Okay. That is the last question I see, and I will give just another minute or two to see if any other questions come in. But while we wait for that, I just want to thank you again for joining us tonight. As you move forward, I'm always happy to meet with you one-on-one if you have any questions. So my calendar link is there. Feel free to use it. You don't even have to tell me you're going to. Just set up time to meet and I'll be happy to chat with you. Happy to build a sample graduation plan with you or talk through transfer credits or your own unique timeline. That's what I'm here for. So happy to work with you, answer any questions you have. And our faculty are phenomenal as well. They're great for if you have questions about getting started in the industry and all kinds of things. They're going to be a great resource for you. I don't see any last questions coming through. So I think I'm going to give it just another second. But I think we're good. So I think I'm gonna wrap us up. But again, thank you so much for being here. Please stay in touch with us, and we hope to see you getting started at K-State very soon. So thank you, everybody. Have a great night.